All right, our next game will be on your blue colored card. Blue colored card, one line, four corners. All right, I hope you had a great lunch. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to bring it back together. Bring it back. But before we do, how about a big round of applause for that food? However, I couldn't find one bologna sandwich in there. So I'm kind of disappointed. But they had a lot of good stuff there. As we start, for those that are watching the live stream at home, our cameras were off for the last hour, if you didn't figure that out, but we're back online. And we're back on. And this afternoon, our first presenter is presenting about the right to self-govern. Viola Robertson. Viola Robertson is a trusted and inspiring leader. From 1970s, she has worked to end discrimination against the Mi'kmaq people, advocating a particular for changes to sections of the Indian Act that discriminated against Aboriginal Indigenous women. Viola was a contribute to the development of the Made in Nova Scotia process. As the senior Mi'kmaq advisor, and in 2011, she was appointed as a lead negotiator by the Assembly of Nova Scotia Chiefs. Viola has previously served as the president of the Native Council of Nova Scotia and as president of the Native Council of Canada, as well being one of 7 commissioners who traveled across Canada with the Royal Commission on Aboriginal People. Viola is a recipient of the Inspire Award, Order of Nova Scotia, and Order of Canada. How about a big, warm welcome for Viola Robertson?
Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Viola Robinson. I'm sure everybody here knows who I am. I've spoken to you before on these conferences that we've had annually. And it seems I've been talking about the same thing over and over and over for so many years, talking about the right to fish for a moderate livelihood. And ever since, I think in 2011, when the federal government got the mandate to start talking to us and begin negotiating for a moderate livelihood. We started back then. And we've been working since then. But before I get into any more of that, I just want to really recognize the presenters that were up here this morning. Dr. Jane McMillan and Eric Shiley, my co-worker, and as well as Senator Christmas. I think that they have given us so much information. There are so many of us that really don't know the history, the legacy of what really happened and how we got to where we are. And it's really, even though this is on streaming online, all the Mi'kmaq in Nova Scotia really have the opportunity to watch and listen. And there is so much to learn. I've been working for 40 years, maybe longer, in rights, and I'm never ceased to be amazed at how you keep learning every day. No matter where you go, what you do, you're always learning more and more about about our rights. I'm not going to talk too long because I want you to get into the afternoon, the important part of this conference, and that is to start talking about what you heard today and what you're hearing. But I'm going to talk a little bit about self-government because this conference is about rights. It's about two rights. It's about the right to self-government, which we have as Mi'kmaq people. We have the inherent right to self-government under the Section 35, which is a constitutional right. And we also have a right to fish for a moderate livelihood, which was won in the courts by the late Donald Marshall. Those are two rights that we have, one treaty right, one constitutional right. And nobody can change that. And all we have to do, we have them. They're ours. It's up to us. The one thing the courts don't do when a case is finished, they don't say how to do something. Yes. In the Simon case, they said yes. You have Treaty of 1752 is a valid legal treaty. You do have treaty rights there, but they don't say what. They don't say how or anything. Same as when Marshall decision came down, we have the right to moderate livelihood, but they don't say how to do it or what to do. But they do say that it must be negotiated. It must be negotiated. It is a right that is a collective right, as you heard this morning. It's a collective right. It's a right that belongs to the Mi'kmaq. And in this province, I'm only speaking for the province of Nova Scotia. In this province, it belongs to the Mi'kmaq of Nova Scotia. There are other Mi'kmaq in Atlantic Canada who hold the same rights, and they are working to negotiate within their own jurisdictions, within their own provinces and their governments. But here in Nova Scotia, yes, every single Mi'kmaq has the right to fish for a moderate livelihood. But we also have a right to self-government. So it's up to us as Mi'kmaq people to get together and design and work on, build our self-governance on how we're going to fish for that right, and how are we going to build a governance that's going to enable any Mi'kmaq person who wants to go fish to be able to fish. That's really up to us. And we've started that process from way back, over 10 years ago, and now we do have the Mi'kmaq Assembly of the Nova Scotia Mi'kmaq Chiefs who deal with, they are asserting their right to self-government by making certain decisions and by moving forward and building a structure. But within that structure, we have to make room on how are we going to fish for a moderate livelihood. How is that going to happen? And this is one of the things I think that we really need to talk about. And we've talked about it so many, many times. And it's not like we're starting from scratch. It's something that we've been working at through community by community, and we've worked in these conferences to talk about. But I think the time is here now. There's not all that much more to talk about. What we need to do now is to do it. What we need to do is work together as a nation, as a collective, and build something that is going to build a fishery that is going to protect, build a governing structure that is going to protect, that is going to be provide for safe vessels, training, free from harassment, protection, control, manage, freedom to sell and market without fear of being arrested or a seizure of gear in your catch. All of these things has been happening. We need to take control. We need to work together and build something that's going to allow all of these things to happen. That's going to be that people will be able to go out and feel content and be able to work and fish the way that they want to. It's, as it was said this morning, it's a right that is, every individual does have the right, but in order to fish as an individual, you need to, this governance, the structure, has to provide for proper training and provide for gear, safe vessels, monitoring, reporting, so that we can show as a self-governing entities, as a self-governing body, as a nation, governing that we are responsible. We can show the rest of the world, the rest of Canada, the other governments that we are capable and we are responsible as a nation of people who take our rights seriously and treat it with respect and respect for each other. It's, I don't know what more can be said. What was said this morning, all we need to do is take the jurisdiction of power to enable us to do what is needed to carry out what is important for a safe fishery. And for me, that sounds pretty simple. All we need to do is do it. All we need to do is work together and do it. Build on what we already have. And I'm not talking about the communal commercial fisheries that are existing now in our communities. They already have that, and that's a commercial fishery, and that can grow, and that can go on and for as long as it wants. But this moderate livelihood is something that is different, and we need to build it because it's a right, and we need to build it from the bottom up. That's why it's important to engage with communities, to engage with all the chief and councils, to engage with all the fishers, and to talk about how do we see this working and how can we build it so that everybody can have a role in building this structure and building this fishery and taking on the responsibility. We have so many people who are people who are fishers, who know all about the fishery. We have other people who are already in management. We have people getting educated all the time. We have different organizations that are all engaged in doing something. So there is room and there is something for everybody to do. And if we just get all together and work together, I don't know how. What else? What else? I mean, I don't know how else to say. We must be ready. We must be ready. I don't know what more we could ask for. Don't go back to the courts. They won't provide you with any more than what you already have. You already have the right. You have the right to fish for a moderate livelihood. You have the right to self-government. You have the right to take your jurisdiction. You have the right to organize and make these commitments and to make these decisions. It's all there. So, what is stopping us? And yes, if there are problems, if there are other things, those things can be worked out. We have enough people to work with each other and to bring some understanding on what the issues and problems are. And all I can say is we all have the right to fish to fish for a moderate livelihood, and there should not be anything to prevent us from exercising that right and to do it in a responsible manner. The only thing that we have to think about, the courts said when we're looking at fishing for a moderate livelihood or any fishing for anything or hunting or gathering, it doesn't matter what we're doing, is conservation and sustainability. And we have that. We have Nedugalimk. That's front and foremost. We have to think about that. We have to think, we have Nedugalimk and we should practice it. And I just want to bring something to your attention about Nedugalimk, because we've been talking about it, and everybody talks about it. But you know, people are listening. It's out there. It's not only just with us, it's out there amongst other people. And this paper last week, when I looked at this, it's a little local paper, but it hit the paper. It says sustainability and Nedugalimk. Now, there's the environment and economy must be managed for the benefit of present and future generations. In keeping with the Mi'kmaq concept of Nedugalimk, defined as the use of the natural bounty provided by the Creator for the self-support and well-being of the individual and community by achieving adequate standards of community nutrition and economic well-being without jeopardizing the integrity, diversity, or productivity of our environment. Now, the government is proposing to replace an act with a new act called Sustainable Prosperity Act. So, and he's asking all of us to, well, this is just a little article, and they're asking for opinions, and I suppose there will be consultation about this. But the new act is based on 5 principles, and the first one being Nedugalimk. So this is an act that is not our act, but it's an act that's being proposed, being considered, and based on 5 principles. And the first one is Nedugalimk. Espousing the idea of a circular economy is another one. So they've taken what we've been talking about and what we've been doing, and they're incorporating it in acts, provincial, federal, what have you. But so, and this is something, this is where I think this little read is something that shows we've been working, the Mi'kmaq have been working, we have been promoting Nedugalimk, and it's catching on everywhere. Other people are buying into it. The public is. And that means something. It means people are listening. So when they talk about progress, I think we're making progress not only amongst ourselves, but amongst the public as well. Because we are being heard. We are being heard. And now it's up to us. It's up to us. And I think my time is up, but you're going to go into your workshops this afternoon, and all I ask is to look at this seriously, and I, as your negotiator, when we talk about negotiating the right to a moderate livelihood, I want to be able to go and say, we have it. We got it. Here it is. And it's supported by all the Mi'kmaq in Nova Scotia, by all the chiefs and councils, by all the Mi'kmaq leadership, by all the Mi'kmaq people. This is what they want. I can't say that if we're not all together. I can't say that if you can't come to me in a forum like this and tell me to say that. I have to be honest. And I don't like going to government and saying, oh, over here they think this and over here they don't. I don't want to go there with a fractured picture of our people, of our nations, our Mi'kmaq nation. And we are a nation. And we are a Mi'kmaq nation. But we have to start acting like one, and we have to start working like one, because there's a lot to be done, and there's a lot that we can do, and there's no reason in the world why we can't. So I think that it's so important now that we start talking and building what we feel is the right way for our generations now and generations to come to fish for a moderate livelihood. It can be done. And it's not I'm not saying that, I think we have so much to build on. People are fishing, but there's no, it's not a peaceful way of fishing. They're not able to do, because you need something. You need a government. You need a Mi'kmaq government. You need a structure. You need to be organized. And we can do that. In a lot of cases, we already are. So we need to acknowledge that and do it and get on with it. So that's all I'm going to say for today. I'm going to leave the rest up to you to go and come back tomorrow, hopefully, with a lot of good answers and a lot of good thoughts on how we're all going to move forward and work together. So thank you.
Bilal and Viola. So once again, how about a big warm welcome, round of applause for those very wise words, and we thank you for your direction. And in that, what we're going to do is into the breakout sessions. Now, we're going to have small group discussions, because it's important. Everybody needs to be heard, and everybody wants to be heard. So it's very important that we all can say, and we could all put our input into this, because it's a big decision. It's our livelihood. It's who we are. It's our inherent right. There's so much tied into this. You know, our ancestors are part of what we're talking about here today. So it's most important that, so there's going to be, most people are already in their breakout groups. Now there's images on your name tags. So if you have an image on your name tag, we want you to go to the table that has that image. We did this for a purpose, because we know you might have came in as a group, Waikagama, I won't mention any words, but any groups, mentioning no names. Oh, Waigoma, sorry, Waigoma. And Wagama Cook's here, and Membertou is in the house, and yeah. But we want not just Membertou to sit with Membertou, even though today is their daily council meeting. Every Tuesday, they're already together. So what we want you to do is to sit at the table, and there's facilitators. There's facilitators, Ilnu facilitators too, very important. There's Ilnu facilitators. So I want you to find the table, and there'll be facilitators coming to your table to support the discussion. Now, for any of the community fishermen, the managers who have just joined us today, Jane McMillan, Dr. Jane McMillan, will be hosting a breakout session for you in the executive boardroom around the corner. where we're going to be bringing into smaller table discussions, and the room will be working among themselves. Now, we will be turning off the live stream feed at this time. The feed will be back up tomorrow. So all those people in the live feed, Lamotas, see you. Thank you. See you tomorrow. Also, we have asked any media to leave the room as the discussion group.